Good morning. Hello. Donna Kay here with Let's Talk ADHD with Donna Kay. I am coming to you live. If you're tuning in, just give me a wave in the comments. I want to make sure that you can hear me. I just realized I didn't choose my mic. Let's make sure I got the right mic. No, I didn't. This might be better. If you are tuning in live, just give me a wave. Hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I am here in Seattle, and I've got my little puppy, little visitor with me. He went underneath the desk, but then was just rubbing at my leg and wanted to come up. So I was like, okay, you can come and join me. That is okay. So hopefully he just sits quietly. His name's Cooper. He's very, very cute. Hi, everyone. I can see quite a few people tuning in. Namaste to you too. I can see we've got North Carolina. Hi, Jen. How are you? Oh, another North Carolina. Wow, that's fantastic. I can see a couple of people. Someone giving me a wave. It's so hard to work out the names of everyone. Oh, we got South Africa, we've got Florida, we've got Cardiff. Where is Cardiff? I don't know where Cardiff is. So there we go. Super excited to be here today. I've got someone from Virginia. I'm here in Seattle, Washington. It is cloudy today. School goes back on Thursday. Are your kids back at school? Let me know in the chat if your kids are back at school. I can see we've got Virginia tuning in, New Jersey, Chicago. We got people from everywhere today. Now, for those that don't know, South Wales. Fantastic. Thanks for tuning in. For those of you that don't know me already, my name is Donna Kay. I'm a board-certified health and nutrition practitioner, and I work with families specializing that have kids with ADHD, and I help them to naturally reduce those challenging ADHD symptoms. Let me know if this is the first time tuning in live with me. We've got quite a few new people following. I like to jump on here every week, typically on Tuesdays around this time, just to share relevant information about ADHD, as well as answer any questions that you guys bring to me. So definitely, if you've got questions, let me know in the chat, and I will try to answer them for you. I can see, yes, sometimes someone's first time joining in. So hello, welcome. Now, I wanted to jump on here really quick with some information about how ADHD is supposed to be diagnosed. Now, how some steps are often skipped, okay, with many doctors out there. We've got someone from Italy. Hi, thanks for tuning in. First time, fantastic. Thanks, welcome. Now, hope you guys are ready to get started. It's no secret ADHD has become a common diagnosis among children and teens, especially in the last few decades. So can you guys let me know in the chat who has a kiddo with ADHD or themselves have ADHD? It has been increasingly popular. Now, according to the CDC, approximately 11% of children aged 5 to 7 in the United States have been diagnosed with ADHD, and the prevalence is even higher in older children, 12 to 17-year-old, compared to younger ones, 5 to 11. Someone saying, yes, my son and I are ADHD symptoms and autism symptoms similar or can be misdiagnosed. Yeah, look, it's all on this spectrum, isn't it? It ranges, and really both of those are a cluster of symptoms that they like to sort of group together and give this diagnosis and this diagnostic code. Now, my sister is a big fan. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, ADHD in girls is actually lower than for boys. So it's 6% for girls and it's 13% for boys. Now, among children with ADHD, about 77% receive some form of treatment, and this includes 62% of kiddos on medication and 47% undergoing behavioral therapy. And the treatment often involves a combination of both medication and behavioral therapy. Okay, so from these stats, you can see that ADHD affects a lot of kids, specifically in the USA. I'm talking these stats, but around the world. But did you know that technically ADHD is what they call a diagnosis of exclusion? You probably haven't heard that term before. When I first read this, I actually hadn't heard them refer to ADHD like that. And when my son was first diagnosed years ago, okay, probably, God, it's 10 years ago now, they never told me that it's a diagnosis of exclusion. And that's basically a fancy way of saying doctors should only diagnose someone with ADHD after they have checked off everything else it could be. Okay. They've got to check off everything else it could be and then diagnose if it makes sense. And this means that it requires a comprehensive assessment over time to ensure that other possible causes of symptoms aren't being overlooked. So this involves not just looking at those symptoms themselves, but also how the child is faring day to day, their history over time, and gathering input from a range of sources like schools, family, healthcare providers. So someone's asking, how do you differentiate ASD and ADHD in a 4-year-old? Definitely one of the ways is by this comprehensive assessment. Okay, there's different criteria for both of those things. Now, unfortunately, and this is where it comes in, the in-depth process can be quite tedious and sometimes it's just completely overlooked. Okay, I'd love to know from those tuning in that do have an ADHD diagnosis. Do you feel like your doctor was looking at any and all potential sources of symptoms, or do you feel like they were just ready quick to diagnose ADHD? So, I want to know, did you go through this? There are some crazy people out there, seriously. It's definitely on YouTube. It seems to get more weirder comments on YouTube than there is on Instagram. So, sorry, I'm looking at the YouTube comments here and I'm looking at the Instagram comments here and trying to decipher which ones I answer, because some of them I can't even say out loud. And I'm going to totally call you out. It is okay. So my 8-year-old, someone's saying my 8-year-old was diagnosed. Now we have to figure out next steps we want to take. For sure. And it is it's sort of like you're presented with this information. When my son was first diagnosed, we were only presented with medication. So look, do you feel like that they basically looked at every potential source? When I look back to when my son was diagnosed, he did go through a comprehensive assessment, but they did not look for every specific cause. We definitely didn't dig deep very far before he was given the diagnosis of ADHD. We didn't discuss his diet at all. We didn't look at any other symptoms that could be causing this. And I've talked a lot with a lot of families in my practice who have very, very similar experiences. Their doctors are quick to stick that ADHD label on or the autism label on and don't often look for any other potential things that could be causing ADHD-like symptoms. And this has led to more and more kids being diagnosed with ADHD in recent decades. Now, that is a good thing in some cases, but a not so good thing in other cases. Now, there's also additional reasons for the increase, okay? Okay, so definitely, just doing an online assessment is, probably not that ideal. What you want to do is you want to have a series of assessments over a number of periods of time with that child and then doing it in different settings as well. Now, another reason there's an increase is in the 1990s, a US law provided special support for students with ADHD, which is definitely a really, really good thing, okay? Now, we want kids with ADHD to have that support. But what this did, it inadvertently incentivized teachers to have conversation with parents about potential ADHD diagnosis in students who might be struggling or underperforming. Now, as a result, many well-intentioned parents found themselves visiting doctors, seeking to do the right thing by their kids. Now, enter pharmaceutical companies. They have aggressive marketing tactics for ADHD medications in the 2000s specifically, and the availability of treatment options surge. And so with this greater availability, there came an increase in diagnosis, partly because insurance often requires a diagnosis for coverage. And this has led to kids in North America being prescribed ADHD meds at a rate 2 to 4 times higher than their peers in other countries. Okay. I think that's crazy. 2 to 4 times higher than their peers in other countries. And now that's a pretty significant number. Okay. So what does this all mean? What does this mean for us as parents? It really underscores the importance of thorough evaluations and exploring a full range of interventions before jumping to conclusion. And it's a reminder that there are many underlying stresses that could be creating or exacerbating ADHD-like symptoms, and they're overlooked, often many times overlooked. Some of these stresses include diet, full of like inflammatory foods, an overgrowth of bacteria, or certain vitamins and minerals, or it could be a parasite, or it could be leaky gut. Just did a post yesterday. You've got to check it out on my feed. Lots of information about leaky gut, and you've got the ability to get a free leaky gut guide. Go and check that out. You'll definitely be able to see, it says, I think ADHD begins in the gut. Go and check it out. So just because something looks like ADHD does not necessarily mean it is ADHD. And there are a lot of other stresses that cause ADHD-like symptoms. Hope this is making sense so far. Just let me know in the comments just by saying yes. I know that we've got a lot of questions. I'll try to come back to them once I finish up giving the information. I will definitely scroll through to try and not miss anyone. So from my opinion and from, many of my colleagues out there, this is why it is so important to really dig deep and consider some of the other possible stresses that could be creating or exacerbating symptoms, okay? If your child's doctor is quick to write a prescription and slow to look at other possible explanations for ADHD-like symptoms, you don't have to just sit by and take their advice at face value. You can get a second opinion. You can dig deeper. You can trust your gut. You know your child best. And I think many times, especially when it comes to medical stuff, we tend to think our child's doctor as the one who definitely knows what's best for our kiddos. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a big believer in getting medical care when it is needed. We have some amazing medical professionals out there, but no one can be an expert in everything. Okay. And traditional doctors can only be experts on those specific things that they're trained in. And not all of them are trained in diagnosing ADHD in the way it's supposed to be. And I want to say that if your doctor is not a specialist ADHD doctor, don't get a diagnosis from them. Go to a specialist, because, it's meant to be diagnosed over a series of meetings. It's meant to be diagnosed as a diagnosis of exclusion, okay, through exclusion. Hope this is all making sense. And also, giving you information about other possible causes that you can look at first. But just remember, if your gut is telling you that your child's ADHD symptoms might be caused by something else like diet, or gut health, or any other underlying stresses like leaky gut, then trust yourself, because you, more than anyone else, are the expert on your child. Okay, I'm going to jump to comments. If you've got any questions, let me know. Got someone saying our family has ADD or ADHD in varying forms. We have learned a lot of root causes, stresses, diet, who genetically had it. Yes, fantastic. Awesome. That is exactly right. Would a specialist be a psychologist? You can have ADHD or neurodevelopmental psychologist or neurodevelopmental psychiatrist. They're the particular ones that really know how to diagnose properly. But even then, if they're just going to give you one form for the parents to fill out and one form for the teacher to fill out, this is not the right way to do it. Okay, so you really want to find someone that does it properly. Jen saying ours was sent from doctor for assessment, and it was basically one visit with parent and then individual assessment without then he was diagnosed. So that's a little bit closer, but again, you need to see it multiple times. I think my son, when he was diagnosed, went 3 times to see them on different occasions, because you think about it. Just say they went to school one day and the teacher gave them candy that was laden with artificial red dye, and their hyperactivity was through the roof, and then they went for that assessment. Okay, they're probably going to be super hyperactive. But then the next day you went on a Saturday and had a really good protein rich breakfast, and their hyperactivity was non-existent. So that's why you need to do it in multiple times, multiple settings. Do teachers get teacher aid resources in the classroom when they have a certain number of ADHD special ed kids in the class? I actually don't know. I think every school district is different, because they've got different budgets, it will totally depend. So that's definitely one for the school district. Are schools legally allowed to suggest testing diagnosis? No, they are not legally allowed. If your teacher says, I think they may have ADHD, go and get diagnosed, that is illegal. Very, very good point to make. We also spoke with his doctor and had his check-ins, behavioral and case manager reviews. Yeah, that's great. You want to have all of that stuff when you're making that diagnosis. Just did an ADHD assessment on, if the child is not sitting still and does headstands on the couch all the time, is that a symptom? That's a good question. My younger son, who is 10, he does not have ADHD. He does do headstands on the couch. I remember when I was a child, I used to do headstands on a couch. It could be a sensory thing for them. It doesn't necessarily mean it is ADHD. If they're got a lot of energy, doesn't necessarily mean it's ADHD. There is so much more that goes into it. So definitely trust your gut. So I've answered all those. Let's see if there's any over on YouTube. Okay, someone's saying how do you get diagnosed with ADHD? I visited the doctor and she told me there is no ADHD, adult ADHD. That's completely incorrect. What I would say, go and find a new doctor. Every state is different. Yes, that's correct. Every state is different and their protocols are different for schooling 100%. No, adult ADHD is not necessarily just ADD. You can still have the hyperactive component of ADHD when you're an adult. It just shows up differently than it does in a child. So definitely there is still ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. ADD is attention deficit disorder, and then there is a combination of both. So both adult and children can have one or a combination of both. So I think that's it for today, guys. As I mentioned, if you didn't check out my leaky gut post, go and do it. It took off. I think there's like 1,500 comments on it. So definitely something to look at for underlying stresses. That's it for today. Hope this Instagram's been helpful. Had lots of fun with you guys in chatting and all the engagement. So I will see you this time next week for Let's Talk ADHD with Dana K. Take care. Have a good day.